So here we are, sharing secrets of the soil with me, your host, Regen Ray. Hello, soil lovers. Welcome to another episode of Secrets of the Soil. I'm your host, Regen Ray, and today we're going to get our hands dirty and dig deeper into community gardens with our favorite friend, Sue Bradley. How are you going, Sue?
Oh, hi, Ray. Hi, soil lovers. This is so great to be on today. Thanks, Ray, for inviting me to come on. I love what you're doing, all about soil, and you've got a common friend in me because I love soil too.
Hey, we are all soil lovers making amazing content, and I love what you do with all your projects. And so share with Farming Secrets and the soil lovers what Innately Good is all about and a little bit about yourself and why you're a soil lover.
Oh, great. Well, Innately Good's been around for a good, I reckon, 5+ years now. I had a little bit of a break over the last few years because of other projects, but it's something that's dear to my heart because Innately Good started once I started having children, and the way we live very fresh with food and knowing where our food comes from and health, and witnessing some health issues with my children and how I overcame them. I wanted to share that with other people as well. So that's how Innately Good was born. So I could do workshops, and I'm all about connecting with people on a personal level rather than doing online content, which I know you're very good at, Ray, and I'm very much more in I like working with people one-on-one or in small groups in person. So that's what I did. I invited people into my home, or I did workshops out of the home, and I basically showed people how to get back to cooking in their kitchen. And, for me, it was such a common thing that I thought, well, everyone knows how to cook in their kitchen and prepare food that's healthy for our body. But then I soon came to know, well, that's not actually as common as I thought. And for me, eating around a dinner table with your family and friends is something we don't really put a lot of value on these days. And then the soil journey came a bit later after Innately Good, because through that I started studying nutrition with Cindy O'Meara at the Functional Nutrition Academy, and found an incredible tribe of community that were like me. And so they gave me a lot of strength and, just a passion to continue that on. Yeah, and it's continued on. I love sharing recipes and little videos of how to do things, just having fun, really. It's just having fun.
That's it. That's the best we could do. And I remember when we ran our summit a few years ago now, and you came on and did all the kids' activities, and that was a bundle of joy to see kids, going in the garden and counting bugs and finding rocks, and then getting in the kitchen and pickling cucumbers and carrots and everything. It was a lot of fun. And I think that is really something that's missing these days, is that fun element to education. It's all textbook and, passing the exam, but where's the fun side of it? And I love the projects that you're working with, even with the community garden. And I want to go really deep into that community garden. And how did you get, I love the fact that health, well-being led you down the path of nutrition. And that's very similar to myself. And then my mind blowing and going, what? It all starts with soil? We need to talk about soil, So I love that you've caught that same flame, and we've definitely kicked it off very easily when we first started chatting, because there was a lot of, me too, and I think the same. So what led you to the community garden side of things?
Oh, wow. I suppose, as you said, it's been a journey, and I think life is a journey, and you've really got to celebrate those moments in your past that lead you to now, and then also thanking your future self as well, because we're all a one person. So getting to a community garden has been a really fun journey. And I suppose, funny enough, it actually was born in the first COVID kind of time, because I was working on a project that was a little bit more national before then. And I wanted to do something a bit more localized in my own community, because I'm very much about local food economy, food citizenship, connections, because that's where building a healthy community then goes out beyond your own community. So with a community garden, my dream was to bring people together on ground, on country, where you can grow food you meet people, you're in outside, you're in soil, and then you can harvest that food and eat it together. And then it's that's where Innately Good was, that end of sharing food and knowing how to cook it traditional ways. So community garden was encompassing everything that I love. And it was a bit of a thing I wanted to see here on the Central Coast, even though there are so many other community gardens here on the Central Coast, which was funny that I was never really a member of my own local one. But before Swamp was born, I did go and talk to some of the local members there and just check in with their knowledge and ask them how could I go about it. And they were so supportive. And it was just talking to local farmers, just really tapping in and saying, is there a space for this? Where can I have a community garden? So it was really just reaching out to the community and finding out whether it's something that they wanted or was there anywhere that I could do this. So council, I spoke to council. I did courses in council. I did a social enterprise program, which was fantastic. I think that was one of the best things I did. So even look into your own councils, because they do have fantastic programs to help community, because they are reliant on community doing things. They're in a positive way. So through that program, I met other entrepreneurs that were doing social enterprise programs, and I got the tools then to be able to pitch my dream, my idea. And then a couple of people pointed to an area which is the Central Coast wetlands, and I went out and I had a look, and it was basically, this is it. So I just knew this is where the community garden is going to live, and I just approached the board and pitched it to them and put a call out to community friends on Facebook, which is social media, and got a great response. It blew my mind, because most things on social media go, hey, you only get 5 or so people. I got so many that I had to write an Excel sheet just to keep all their names so I could contact everyone. And we select, about 7 of us came together, and we're still together. We're the board of our not-for-profit, and we, it's just reaching out to community. That's, if you're working in community, you need to work together. Yeah.
I love that. And the resilience, I guess, to stick at it, because I'm also in a community garden working group, and getting access to land is a lot more difficult than what you may think. And you think, every council's just going to say, yes, slice this park up or put it over here. But there's so many elements that you need to think about. What are some tips you can share with someone? And I think you've already shared one about like building a working group of community-driven team. But is there anything else that kind of can help people activate themselves to not give up at that land-seeking point? Because I know in the working group that I'm at, it's very easy to go, we're just not going to find land. Like, this is too hard.
I suppose I'm a determined person, and when I believe in something, but it's also got to work easy. If there's a lot of things that you're coming up against that don't feel right, or it's not flowing well, then you go, okay, I don't think that's the right way, shift. But for me, it's just really connecting into people that know how to do stuff. So like my farmer friends, I talk to them. Through that social enterprise program, I was connected to the business centre, and they have been phenomenal in knowing, because I don't know, have learnt so much about insurance, about contracts on land, Crown land, council land, what you can do. But it's just talking to people that do this kind of stuff. So the business centre, I don't know, that's in Newcastle, New South Wales. So I don't know where that could relate to all you soil lovers who love community gardens, or knowing where to go find mentors. But it's just go connect to your local environment groups, or who are doing that kind of thing. Could be different, but they may have a lawyer or an accountant or someone they can say, oh, this guy might know how to do it, how to set up a not-for-profit, or what you can do with council or Crown land. But you just got to, just keep asking. Keep asking people. And someone will say, oh, this person might know something. So then you go to that person, you go, hi. And generally people really want to talk to you. If you've got something you want to do, people are so supportive. And that's what I found in this, that it resonates with so many people, these kind of projects, social enterprise programs, people, it just builds community, and they are well supported. So if you're ringing someone just on cold call about something, they will definitely want to help you. Or if they can't, they will put you through to someone else.
Yeah, I love that. I think what you've made really clear is that your network and hanging around like-minded people who can kind of get what you're doing, eventually someone knows someone, and it might be you know, the lawyer or the accountant or someone who's running a primary school who knows someone on something. That network is super powerful. And what about sharing your idea? Like, did you share your idea very openly at the start, or were you a bit protective because you're worried that someone was going to take the idea and do it themselves? Because how do you get these people?
So open. I'm so open. I believe ideas are not ours to own. I believe in the magic of ideas. I don't know. I read a book called Big Magic a while ago, and I really need to read that book again. And for me, that was a really big shift in the idea of that ideas can be a living force. And I have experienced that too much to not believe that, because you're probably a similar person where you get this idea and you get tingles, or you get this sense of feeling of this feels really good, but
Yep.
And it's bigger than you, and you're like, why me? I don't know what to do. You don't know what to do half the time, but it's such a incredible feeling that it actually energizes you to move into something. And I recommend anyone to read that book, Big Magic, because it will shift your sense of being and purpose. And when you're open-hearted, and that's what happens when you work into community, you become very open and sharing things. And to not share, I find it's not I'm not a negative person. I can't articulate that feeling, but it's not common good for people. You've got to share.
You do the idea injustice by not talking about it. That's what I found. And I was intrigued whether you were talking openly about it. I was talking to someone the other day and I said, the minute someone gives me an NDA and says, we can't talk about this outside it, I say, this is not a project for me, because I want to get really excited and share the idea and light that flame to other people. And that's when the ideas go really crazy. If you keep it under wraps, it's just going to always stay like that. So and I think it comes from an abundance mindset. It's like, I don't care about talking about this. And I openly share ideas on the podcast and on videos I make. If you take that idea and make it come to life, awesome. It's come to life. Like, I don't have the energy to make all my ideas come true. So and
that's the thing. We don't have an ownership. If it's a community program, there's no ownership. It's the community's program. So when we approach organisations or groups, we invite them in or say, we've got this great idea. Would you like to jump on board? Could we take it to your group? We're very open and sharing and inviting people in to do things in the garden, because it's for the greater good. It's for everyone. Like, I love it. I just, it just invigorates people. It raises spirits, and I love seeing people happy and doing things they love and giving opportunities to people. And that's what I've seen with the garden is our connections with the groups that come through and the people that come through, and it changes lives on very basic levels. And that is a gift. And for me, when you see someone communicate with someone that they haven't been able to, like a disabilities, and they are doing things they've never done before, and you can see how excited they are. For me, that's why I do that.
Hands down a winner. And we'll talk more about that soon, because I want to dive deep into some of these stories that I've seen with my own eyes, because I've come down and visited Swamp, and it was an awesome pleasure to come and see see how quickly things have unfolded, building that community. And I think when I visited, it was a 6-month or less project, and it's just like, this was grass and now we have all this. And that was really, but before we dive into that.
And in COVID, Like the whole year we've been is like this up and down of COVID. We cannot believe how much we've actually achieved in a very turbulent year. So I know that people really seek this in times like this. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. I know you refer to yourself as a conscious consumer and you're a very curious person. And I think in your bio, you say you're a conscious consumer and eater. Talk about that conscious consumer. What does that mean? Because I know a lot of people have a bit of a brain failure when they hear that they're a consumer and it's kind of demonized in this world. So what do you mean by conscious consumer?
I like your question. You're getting me thinking. I love it. Okay, so for me, conscious consumer, and I have 3 children. I'm very aware of where they're going to move into the future and how they live and tread and buy things. And so it's a big picture for me, conscious consumer. It can include clothing. It can include how you live in your home, what you bring into your home, what you ingest, in your food miles, how you travel. So, but you don't do it all at once. You can, to live in a culture and society like this, we can only do what we can do. And it's just doing those steps that feel comfortable. So say for me is to get to know your farmer. Go to the local farmers markets. We have plenty. We have small ones here at cafes that they open up. You go chat and they love to hear stories. And then when you get to know your farmer, you get to know where your food's coming from. So it's being conscious about how that food is being grown and why and what is it going to do in my body. And then when you're cooking it for family and friends, being conscious of that impact it's going to give to those people that you're feeding. And then to the greater picture of how is it impacting our earth, our soil, our land, food miles, there's that whole big picture. I'm not the expert in this topic, but for me, as I class myself as a consumer, I'm not a farmer, I'm a suburban person. So for my role, it's all about who do I connect to in my community that is doing these kind of things and support them, support small businesses that are eco-warriors, that are doing waste-free products, go to your coffee cafe with your Keep cup, support businesses that are doing things that you love to see and how you want your future to look like for your next generations, because it's so important. If you're not conscious about what you're eating or buying, it's just going to perpetuate, and one person can make a difference. Because if you're doing something, you talk about, like when I eat food from my local farmers market, I can't stop raving about how good it tastes. So I'm like, oh, you got to go there. Or even when you go, take a photo of your farmer and the food and do a bit of a post and go, here on a Wednesday, go there and the food is amazing. And, so it's just sharing the good vibes and just making people aware of, their footprint, their impact on the world. Yeah.
And I love the fact that you've covered off so many different topics on that. It's not just about knowing the farmer, but knowing the food miles, knowing the packaging, thinking more globally, and bringing that responsibility back to that. And, sometimes it's hard. You're craving that coffee and you don't have the Keep cup. You can't, it can't be perfect all the time, but at least you're conscious about it. And that all your compounding actions, and maybe there are some people go, well, I don't deserve a coffee. I didn't bring my cup. But I don't want to make it such a painful exercise to be conscious about it, but it's just about maybe, just knowing that, okay, you've done this action, I'm going to offset it by doing this other action. And I love what you said also about taking a photo with your farmer and sharing that on social media and sharing their story. Like, that's the power of people. And I've been saying lately that if we all did one small action every day, that's 7.5 billion little actions. That matters. So, when you're doing that one little thing, if we compound it and we do that every day or every second day, it's a good rhythm. Living in a world that we want to see and see.
Sure is. Yeah, I know. And, talking about Keep cup, like if you go, think of something like what can you do? Because a lot of them are biodegradable, but then, they take a long time in your compost. And just learn about composting, learn about, but you can use those as seedling pots. Like you could use them and put some soil in, put a little seed and grow it and then put it in the ground. You could reuse them. It's about just getting a bit clever.
Yep, awesome, and I love that. With a lot of the way that I've seen you do activities and the stuff that you do on SWAMP, we've spoken about SWAMP. Do we want to share with us all listeners what that SWAMP acronym actually means?
Good. Yes, maybe I should, shouldn't I? Well, we call ourselves Swampies, which is, I love it anyway. But it's a Sustainable Wetlands Agricultural Makers Project. And it wasn't my idea with a name. It was one of our members. She came up with it while she was in the shower, and she's a unique, beautiful woman who's very talented and she's an author. Her name's Sherilyn Darcy. But the whole team of Swampies are just incredible humans, very blessed to know them and have them join on this trip. But yeah, she came up with the name, and we had a bit of a poll vote because there's a few other names, and we put it out to the community. What would they would like this community garden to be named? And we even reached out to the other community gardens. We went to the meetings and said, "Oh, what do you reckon?" And Swamp, that was it. That was the name. Yeah,
I think like a shower thought that comes to fruition. I love that. So a lot of my thoughts come out in the shower as well, and I think it's a lot of places where you could just detach to everything and have some quiet thinking time. And the fact that you even took it to like other community gardens and into the network, it just shows your ethos and your values of how you do that. Sue, it's been so great chatting with you. We're going to take a quick break, and then after the break, we're going to share some of the success stories that you've had on this Swamp Community Garden. So stick around. We'll hear from that soon.
Thanks, Ray.
All right, soil lovers, you've been hanging out with Regen Ray and Sue Bradley from Swamp. We're about to start talking about some of the success stories. Sue, on Swamp, I hear that you have nature play and it's open to all people in the community. Can you share with our soil lovers some of the stories that I've had the privilege of hearing before? When I visited there, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. I really want to take our listeners to what this space feels like being there, apart from the amazing team that's running it. What are some of the things that have happened in amongst the community?
Well, yeah. Well, one of our members, Mandy Dos Santos, she's a nutritionist, and she teaches little people about nutrition. She's an author. She's a musician. And she's all about teaching our children nature play, food, soil, and of course she jumped on straight in the beginning because we've been friends for a little while prior to this. I went, oh my gosh, Mandy, this is going to be amazing. And so that's where our nature play group was born, and it was a dream of hers to have a space for that. And so we have her come in as a contractor to come in to do this nature play group. We started with one day and it was just booked out. So she went, oh my gosh. And she's very much in tune with that community of nature play facilitators. So she follows a lot of other people doing this. So we were advised, let's just do another day. So we end up with 2 days of nature play, and to see families come in with their children just free with, they're preschoolers, so they're not in school yet, and come and get dirty. And she has arts and crafts and music. She has song, all relatable to food and how it's growing. And then she'll do some food and craft that is in line with that theme of the day. And stories like, because we've got, at that time, we have seasonal produce, of course, like we had zucchinis and tomatoes and herbs, and they get in there, they pick it and they're eating them, or they're making craft with them. But one beautiful story that I remember was this little boy picked a zucchini and he loved it so much. And he never ate vegetables, really. Like most of these children will do and don't, but they don't see that connection of how they're growing. So they're seeing that, they're probably not appreciating it at the time, but they're just seeing it as a natural thing. So he took a liking to this zucchini, and he took it home with him, and he even showered and slept with it. It became his friend. And then the mother thought, well, okay, maybe it's time to eat it. So then they made a meal out of it, and it was just such a beautiful experience that children have with Mandy and the garden there. And even when we have members pottering around, it's just beautiful to have that life of children playing and singing in the garden. We even had was it a winter solstice? I think we did that this year amongst everything, and that was beautiful. We had like a lantern parade in the garden where they had craft and story. So it's really connecting the kids to story, to the land, and it's beautiful. So yeah, we get a joy out of having them there.
Love those stories, and I saw, some of the kids playing when I visited, and there's a different energy about it. The smiles are different, the connectivity is different, and I remember Mandy also sharing that the parents are starting to hang out and go to the cafes and talk differently. So it's not just the kids playing who are building friendships; it's also rippling out to the parents. And what are some of the conversations that the parents are having while their kids are in nature?
Well, I think a lot of them don't know. They're either new to the community, and because they're very like-minded, of course, because, they love that nature kind of side for their children to grow up in. So a lot of them are either new or they don't know anyone else. And to have these kind of groups available for mums, new mums who, they've got a child and they want their children to mix, with common friends. They actually become friends and they meet up and they have great conversations like mothers. It's like a mother's group, when you have children, you feel a little bit isolated because you've got a little one and it's not many places you can go. And so the children, Mandy has them well entertained, and even the mothers get in and sing and do the craft with their children. The grandparents come along as well. So afterwards, some of them go off and they socialise together. So it's building a community outside our garden as well. So they're connecting, finding mutual friends, and it's, to create other communities is it's so lovely to see that happen.
Yeah, I love that. And I know that you're also inviting people who are on, like, say, rehabilitation programs and things like that. What's the change been with that and some of the conversation from caretakers around those type of programs?
Yeah, I'll try not to. I'm a bit speechless. This is something that I was...
Because I know.
This is something that I did not expect. It's funny when you start a project, you have a vision of it and what you sort of foresee it happening. But for me, there's so much has happened that has affected me so much in a way that I never could imagine. And prior to when we got there was a disability service using the land, but it was very bleak. There was no one there using it. They were just had nowhere to go. So when we came in, they were very happy, because then we said, look, we'll create a garden here that you can actually help to build and connecting with other people that are not disabled. It's a diverse community that visits the garden. So that's not what you were asking me before, but we have a disabilities group that come, and we're actually in process of getting a grant to support Youth Connections for a Soil to Plate program. Wow. Because the impact with disabilities with them coming on board outdoors is a lot of these kids have behavioural problems, and when they're in a room and they're all together, some are noisy and some can bother each other, their behaviour can be challenging. But when they come out to the garden, they change. They smile, they interact, and they're seeing other people like our group there who want to help them. We speak to them as humans, that they're here, we want to share and get down and teach them something and just see them as a human. And conversations I have with them, some of them are so smart, and they talk about their time at school when they were bullied, and they're so grateful that we are talking to them just normally. And for me, I never thought, because I've never been in a situation where I was like that, but to sense that you're actually making a difference by just talking to someone Even we work with the Glen Centre, and they're an Indigenous rehab centre, and we invited them there because they do incredible work in the community, and that's how the men that go there, that's how they go through rehab and healing, is to do things in the community. And we wanted them to come join us. And that is similar, they say, this is incredible. They actually see us and we're talking to them, and, they help us so much. We thank them all the time of what they're doing to help us, but they're like, no, you're helping us. So it's this relationship that for me, I take for granted, that I see that I'm not even doing anything, but for them, it's just a huge thing for them. So from having these groups, so from getting a fingers crossed program that's going to be funded, Soil to Plate with disabilities, then hopefully that will be rolled out for other groups. I know the Glen Centre are interested in us going to their site, because through this lockdown, they're building up their community garden on site. So we want to have that relationship and go there and help them do their garden, their cooking, because they do a lot of the bigger projects on the community garden, like build our chicken shed and do some mowing and fix things. And so, and we've had them on radio, because one of our members is on a local radio station. So it's helped both the disabilities. They've got now a podcast where they're interviewing disabilities and sharing stories, and the rehab, the Glen, they have a music. So they're now playing their music on radio. So Swamp is not just at the garden anymore. It's mind blowing. I just can't believe it. So it's just
So good. I have a frog in my throat. I'm having to hold back because I just love this energy. Like, people think a community garden is about growing food, and it's so much more than that. I'm sorry. Your work is just so amazing, and I just can't wait to get our community garden started here, because these are the stories that people need right now, and you're activating that and you're making it happen.
Oh, Ray, I wish I'm giving you a hug. I love you so much.
There's so much warmth in what you're saying, and it really does hit my heart, because I've been there and I've walked on it, and it's a completely different energy, and it was just grass, like I feel like what you're able to do when you put powerful people on top of that grass. And, we always talk about like how much there's so much life underneath the soil, which blew my mind when I figured that out. But then when you power that with amazing people coming above the ground and doing awesome projects like Swamp is, and hearing these stories, that's why I really wanted the soil lovers to hear this conversation today, to just start looking at your community garden not as a place of growing. It is so much more than that. And I feel like calling it a community garden is not the right name for them. For some people, it's their lifeline.
And each garden is different. Each garden, like the one here local, a lot of them are retired, and they're incredibly, like, they're horticulturalists, or they've worked in the botanical gardens or wherever. So they've got a place to keep their love going. And a lot of the older people in our communities are forgotten. They don't have a place where they can actually connect with younger people and share and feel valued. So to have younger people come into the garden and go, oh, hey, can I help dig that trench and build that herb garden, and stand beside someone, not your grandparent, just someone different in your community, and just talk.
I know. Crazy.
It's just so, but it's been tricky times. We're doing this during quite a long lockdown, so it's so lovely to talk and share about this, because I haven't been able to do this for 2 months, and but we know that it's still alive. We're keeping it alive through not on the soil, but just it's tricky, but it's there still. Yeah, it's there still.
Keep it going. I am big backer of all the projects, and you and what you're doing at Swamp completely regenerates my soul. And I want to talk about the word regenerative. What does that mean to you when you hear the word regenerative?
Oh, I love that word, because that's what changed my life to soil. Because regenerative is so much more, like, I suppose when you talk about a community garden, Regenerative is another layer of how we look after our country, ourselves, how we grow our food. It's just honouring our land so that we can live upon it and listen to our land, listen to our traditional owners, connecting to their knowledge. How can we live better on this land? Don't forget what we've done in the past. And yeah, just honouring our land and giving back. And because sometimes people talk about, I suppose, as a rehabilitation or bringing back land to how it was once. That we can do that, but it will look different. But I think it's just honouring our land. Yeah, for me.
I love that word, giving back. You know, it's about the soil and the world, you know, can give us food and fiber and fuel. And that conversation of giving back, you know, nutrition, you know, biology, nurturing and care, it is a two-way communication. I think for way too long, we've just taken. And, you know, a lot of the governments and structures and just the way that life is now has forced us just to be in a bit more of a take. And we're out of balance of that. So I think, you know, that keyword that you said there about giving back, and it can be in small little actions, start a worm farm, plant a tree, turn something that was bare soil into green. You know, these all little micro actions compound and help spread the love of soil.
Yeah, and I just want to say one quick. I forgot time. A friend of mine shared something with us friends yesterday, and in her neighbourhood, one of their neighbours has opened up their land to grow food. So my friend who has a suburban house can go to this place to now grow food, have chickens, compost, because she can't do it in her. And this, you can do this in your own communities. Like there's some people have land and they're very open. They just don't know how to ask or find people that might want to do it. So yeah, there's so many ways of making a difference in your own community.
I love that share economy. You know, I've got land that I can't use, but you open it up and let other people who want to use but don't have access to. Like, it's such a win-win. You know, so many people out there trying to solve problems that if we just asked, or, you know, I think the thing is asking better questions or using social media to say, hey, does anyone have land that I can utilize? I'm looking for half an acre or whatever it is. I feel like that is such more constructive ways of using social platforms, and there's like directory sites and things like that. And there's so many more tools popping up during COVID to help bridge that gap between land access and meeting and knowing the farmer. Everyone's using QR codes now. You can basically scan food and watch videos in the aisle these days. And these are all exciting things that 3 years ago I was talking about. And I didn't think it would take a pandemic to make people use QR codes, but here we are. So, but at least the adoption's there. You know, everyone knows how to use it, and we can now meet our farmer in the aisle. You know, if it is a green grocer that you're going to, if you don't have access to local community farmers markets, which have also been put on pause with lockdowns and so forth, you know.
Yeah, only team members can go.
Yeah. Awesome. I want to ask our signature question. Are you ready to be the voice of our soils?
Ooh, that's a big task.
I want you to embody the soil, pretend you're under the ground, and you've magically been given this voice. What would you say to us on the planet Earth if you were the voice of our soils?
Love soil. We are life. We give life above soil. We have a value. We are a resource that should be noted and valued. Without us, there would be no life above soil. Learn about us and dig. Well, I don't know if I like the word dig, because when I dig at swamp, there are so many worms that I'm forever saying sorry. But so I'm gentle with your soil. So, you know, even with gardening, it's like that: no dig, no till. Be gentle. Be gentle with us. And don't learn how to feed it, you know, because all these pesticides, fertilizers, the way we're farming our food and land is polluting and destroying our topsoil. So please, I don't know. That's just my perspective of soil, is just, learn about it and get into it.
Yep, love that. And be gentle with me. I think that's a good one. I like that. I love how you say sorry to the worms. That's so adorable.
I have, next time I'm actually up there tomorrow. I literally, there are so many worms. It's just, they're alive. And that's what we do with the kids. Oh, we're changing subject again, but we do with the kids, and that's what the disability is. That was one story I had with one guy. He loved the worms and he wanted to save them. So when I was digging, I'd give him the worms and then he would put them into the compost. So
wow.
So, and that was another, and that was the first word of one of the kids that come with disabilities, not very verbal. And I think I shared that with you. And that was such a beautiful story, that his first word that he said back in the where they go to is worm. Wow. Like, it was like,
that's the power of our soils, so healing, so giving, so caring. Well, Sue Bradley, it has been an absolute pleasure digging deep with our soil lovers today, and myself learning all about your community garden, your spirit, your resilience, and your power to activate communities. Sue, how can people that are listening hang out with you more? What's the best site or ways of connecting?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram as Innately Good, and you can also check out Swamp, which is on Swamp Central Coast. Also, we have a website, www.swampcentralcoast.com.au, and you can check out what we've been up to. There's not been a lot of action in the last 2 months, but we do some socials just to keep things alive. Yeah.
Excellent. And you come onto podcasts and keep the message alive. Sue, thank you so much. Soil lovers, all the links that Sue mentioned, whether that be on social media or getting onto the website, I highly recommend that you get around the Swamp Central Coast. And if you're not in the local area, think about how you can start activating your community garden or start one yourself. There is a lot of people who are in need of this type of activities, and every community needs a champion to run that. Sue, you're that champion, along with a lot of others around your inner circle that you've built up over the years. So thank you so much for all the work that you're doing to keep our soils alive and connected to all different ages and diversity of the community.
Thanks, Ray. It's been an honour to be here. I just love talking to you. I love your joy and passion too. That's why we have such great fun talking. Thanks, Ray.
We do. So thank you so much, Sue. And soil lovers, get onto the website and make sure that you get to the Soil Learning Centre if you want to see the video version of this podcast, where you can see the tears in my eyes. Until then, keep staying curious, keep digging deeper, get outside into your community garden, and let's give our soils a voice.
Thanks, Ray.
Well, soil lovers, that's enough secrets for one episode. I really hope that you enjoyed all the secrets shared during this conversation. But hey, let's not keep it a secret. Please share this podcast around and make sure that you like it and leave us a review, because that really helps spread the secrets of the soil. Until next time, remember, get outside, get your hands dirty, and keep digging deeper into your soils.